it's thermodynamics. I'm not very good at thermodynamics. I just used the equation and applied it in my model, and the results themselves were speaking the truth.
So we're setting a framework right here in the
Yeah.
first couple of things. So we get right here.
Wow. So when I built my model, I took piece by piece, and what was left over is delta. And I kept working on the delta of the model until I hit 100. At this point, I noticed if you remove the singularity, if you remove the thermodynamics, the heat equation, there was a new graph that formed, and it was a perfect line, almost in a sawtooth pattern, with stabilization patterns left over that were not accounted for. It called noise. AI is always calling this noise. Reality was, when I looked at it, I was like, if it was random, wouldn't those random dots be all over the graph, not just along the edge of the rim of the phase? And so I started working towards it and found out that there's an observer effect, taking about 15% to 20% of those stabilization points, or you call it the riveting of phase over time.
Mm-hmm.
There was a resonant factor, a tension factor, and then you got to remove a 2 pi wrap to make it more linear. By doing all of that, the system was hitting 90 to 95%.
Oh, that's amazing. So just by putting in the correct parameters, noticing the fact that they went right along that line and that they weren't spread out like here, there, whatever, like dots on a page, you're able to pull it right into the correct framework.
First try. I don't know how, but I looked at them and I was like, they're riveting it into existence. And it's like, I was like, yes. And I mean, I'm not going to talk. The tensioning factor was just suggested to me by the AI, but the other three I instantly just came up with.
Nice.
And that's how it looks. It went from phase being randomness to a perfect sine wave, which you could consider a geometric lattice. Stable field.
Stable field. That's amazing. Now,
Here's,
how hard is real quick? How hard is it to get a stable field in this stuff? Like, how long did you work at it before you actually got there?
6 months of trying all standard stuff from this topic, signals and systems for dummies.
Nice.
Those equations don't work.
Right on, my friend. Right on.
So this is the singularity. Describes that you need to basically treat phase from a 0C to make it distinct and derivable. And that's the whole evolution over time from 1 all the way till 8. If you want to take a look at that math, but basically it shows a evolution from singularity to just the heat thermodynamics to the stabilizers. And then at the very end, I'm not sure if it's there, it may not be, but it's a dipole system that's left over at the end.
Nice. So hold on, let's go over this a little bit. So I'm going to look at it real quick. So you're saying it goes from the singularity all the way down to a dipole system? Is that what I'm hearing?
Correct. Yeah, it starts from a singularity. I have a time equation that says time is immersive. It's not relative. And by treating phase from an immersive point, it became basically derivable.
Nice.
And the master equation, deriving it. At the very bottom is the equation. Got cut off a little. Thermodynamics, noise, observer, wrapper, resonant, the tension. And there should be a dipole system. That's missing the last part though.
Oh, so I have to add that to it. Okay.
Yeah. I'll have to add that too. I made this today, so it was quick.
Not a problem.
So
Okay,
this is when I was talking to you, and I only got up to 90, and I kept messaging you saying I got to 90, and then you told me the last percentage must be energy of some form.
nice. So it brought you right up, huh?
Yeah, when you told me to think energy for the last 10%, my brain thought he's always talking about dipoles. He's always talking about the positive and negative, and then you'll see an image of where what you said is exactly what was happening in the system.
It's all predictable, isn't it? It's all there.
Still at 90. Hadn't hit the targeted yet.
Okay.
It seems like this one seems off. This one it says 100, but it should be around 95, 90. But it's one dimension. When I first treated it as a one dimension, it didn't work. I had treated it as a two-dimensional diffusion with coupling. And as you can see, it brought it up instead of the before. Can you go back, old man? I want to just point out one thing about that last slide.
Oh, absolutely.
What I find very interesting, this is all, most of my data is basically I turn data in a computer into a distinct signal and I use it. But for this presentation, I want to prove that it was a universal constant. So I just pulled up random wave files off the internet, audio files, and ran the algorithm on it. This was nothing, it was like planned. And what I find super interesting is how each part of the system reacts differently. Like as you can see on George 2, the seed and time are less important as in the diffusion of that wave. I don't understand the core, why it treats it different yet, but it's interesting to see.
Oh yeah, there's a big change in all of them, isn't there?
Yeah, sometimes the seed and the time is not as important as the diffusion. And then with noise purposely added, the 4 stabilizers become the most work being done.
Nice.
Yeah. So this was saying we reached 100, but now we're going to go ahead and show you how we did it. Speed drift frequency. All right, so these are the 4 stabilizers. Now, for the second time in history, supposedly, you can go ahead and check. But the only experiment I know that has the observer effect is the split particle test. And in our model, 15 to 20% is literally an equation that I have that shows that consciousness itself is affecting the system. And it's literally coming out at least 15 to 20% that those stabilization markers are perfectly being fall on the equation, meaning that's not random.
Not random at all. So it seems like you hit the right ones. And let me just look over. Okay, so we have the observer lock. We have the wrap repair. You want to explain that a little bit?
Yeah, so wrap repair is basically, a lot of people treat phase as a unit circle. And what I discovered through my compression and other things, if you remove 2 pi from your phase, it creates a phase rail or a more linear version of phase. So basically you're taking off 180 degrees to try to make it more linear. So it's more predictable because you can add 2 pi back in whenever you want. It doesn't matter. So the wrapping error is trying to minimize it and correct that full pi effect, or literally the constant pi.
Okay, and then we have resonance forcing, which I think everybody who watches this channel would understand. And then local coherence tension. Now, we talk about that sometimes with Joe and I when we get on there and talk, but you want to explain a little bit how that falls into this?
Yeah, so the stabilizers, you can have 1 point, and what that 1 point will do as things drift away, it will pull back. So almost like entropy acting and pulling it back into the space, you know?
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. That's pretty cool. So, yeah, we deal with this one on the RAV all the time. What you're actually looking at right there, and all of these factors, you don't really realize it right away, but then when you start to break it down, you see all of it in it.
Yeah, for sure, man. And I heard you guys talking last show about the observer effect, man. Who knew that 15 to 20% is I say the minimal. I'm guessing with focus consciousness or focus, you can have a better observer effect. This is just the information itself, or the phase itself, and the reaction to the consciousness equation I built.
So check this out. I'll just relate a little bit more to what I do here. When you stand next to a Tesla coil or any kind of coil that doesn't have a core to it, you affect it. Okay, so your body capacitance gets into there. But what you don't realize is the mood you're in. So, say for instance, you're in an angry mood or something like that, right? Then your body's chemicals are naturally reacting to that, okay? And it's setting off a different level of capacitance that goes into the coil. So, you'll actually change the frequency of it by your mood. And then you'll come back later and you'll be in a great mood or something like that. And the frequency in your body is actually a little bit different. So, the capacitance level will be a bit different when you go in there. And it's a difference between coming in and you turn this thing on and you just want to vomit and you immediately have to go outside and take off your shoes and socks and stand on the dirt, right? And just to get it out of your system. Or you walk in and you turn it on, man, you're in a joyful mood all day.
Right. That's cool, man. That's really cool. It's almost enhancing your own energy field.
Yeah. Well, one of the reasons I use the circuit that I do is because it's like that. It likes to resonate with everything in the room. People don't realize that you're part energy. You know what I mean? So you're part of the resonance in the room. And when it starts to resonate, it starts to go next to you and you're like, oh my God, I'm changing this thing by what I'm doing. Now, it's not one of those things where you can stand there and look at it and go, oh, let me change it in my brain real quick and it'll change. It's one of those things that your body picks up on you in a subconscious level that you don't necessarily have anything to do with.
Yeah, I believe it, man. I believe it 100%. And this supposedly is the only second experiment that has the observer effect added to it and is actually accounting for the model. And those stabilization points, the equation, you could write equations all day and say, this is what's happening. But when the math lands directly on those points of references, that's a different situation.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it tells you it's supposed to be there. There's no randomness about that.
It's proven. It's proven, you know?
Yeah. I agree with that. Okay, let's look at this. Recombine and measure.
Yeah, let's see. So this was us hitting 100. I feel like we're a little bit out of order. Can we go a little bit lower?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so this is what I did. I was trying to prepare for the show, and I applied my algorithm to random wave files. And I forgot to add one part of my algorithm, which was the dipole system. And this showed that basically 90% was up to the singularity, the heat diffusion equation, and the 4 stabilizers. And I was like, but this is a 100% system. So I went back and looked at my code and I realized I forgot the dipole. If you strip away each layer, you start seeing that phase has multiple layers in it, and you can't look at it as one thing. If you do that, you can't control it. But if you strip away the singularity, the heat, thermodynamics, the stabilization points, you're left with about 10%. And that's when I was emailing you at 2 a.m. being like, I got it to 90. I've got 10%. And you're like, it's probably energy changing form. And all of a sudden I ran more graphs. You can see on the next slide. And that's what I got left. I got grouped phase on 2 parts of the graph, and instantly I thought cathode diode. And so I treated it as a cathode diode system and added the math to the algorithm, and we hit 100%.
Nice. It was just that simple.
Yeah, especially when you strip the layers away, you start seeing it. The first time I saw it, from the singularity to the diffusion, it was the dots were coming from the center line out, diffusing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I heard you in my head being like, it's heat diffusion. I'm like, all right, let's try it. And it worked. And then the next layer, the stabilization, the dots along the line only. All right, strip that away. What's left? Well, now there's only two groups left in perfect spots, which is the feedback loop, letting the system know what's happening over time, positive and negative feedback loop. And then we applied the last part of the model.
Which actually makes perfect sense when you think about this. So if you think of like a bipolar Tesla coil or something like that, and you have energy going through it and it's sparking, right? One side and the other will take the actual coil and push the energy back and forth. And there's an actual physics term for it, but I can't remember it. It goes back and forth and it changes the energy of it. And you would think that one side's always negative, but it's not. It'll start moving back and forth like this, and it'll change the actual energy in the system. That's why I was telling you, you know what I mean? Think of everything as energy, because you can't create or destroy energy. It's just always there. You know what I mean? So it has to be part of the system.
Yeah. That's why you tell me to keep going. And Darn AI always says, oh, now you hit the thermodynamic threshold. That's the noise of the system. And I'm like, always trying to stop us.
It's kind of eye-opening once you find it, huh?
Yeah. So I switched to two graphs. That graph should have been the top one, and the one that said 100 should have been here.
Oh,
but yeah. That's why they're in reverse. That's the 90% one before, just stabilizers, and the top 100 should have been there. My bad.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Made it in an hour or two. Sorry. And this is a recap, just to understand how important the 4 stabilizers are and how we're using an actual observer lock. And the strangest thing about the system is, which we'll go into later, if you add noise to the distinct signal, it should corrupt it. In our system, up to 30 decibels of noise added into the system, still at 99.999. And these 4 parameters, plus the dipole system, take turns on what kind of information it is, doing more work. Sometimes it's the 4 stabilizers acting upon the phase, and sometimes it's the dipole system doing it, depending on what you're working on. It's interesting.
Huh. So it kind of bounces around based on what it actually needs. So it's like an independent thought process.
Yeah, it's strange. You would think that the numbers would be static, and over time, as phase emerges over time, it's a static process, or something is more linear. This shows it's more of almost like a wave, where depending on the system, it could be linear, it could be more wave, and depending on where those amplitudes are, either the 4 stabilizers are working or the dipole system.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I like that, man. That it's like you were talking a little bit about consciousness. It's like it does have a consciousness. It like automatically knows which one to go to fix it.
Right? That's strange. And then no model. The cool thing about this model is it's 15% better than anything that exists. And there's no model that is noise resilient, but ours. It's pretty cool.
Nice. I love that.
Cool. Yeah, this was just trying to prove that the last 10% lived on wells. And what those wells are is a dipole feedback loop, a positive anode and cathode. And that was the chart of each wave being tested. We're going to go ahead and show you a URL in a little bit where you can download this project. All the code's there. I have mathematics in a README. Run the code yourself. You check it and tell me if you agree or disagree with what we discovered, man. The more input on this happier I'll be.
Nice. Yeah, you got to have everybody test it in their own way.
All right, this is a breakdown of the whole system. So the seed in time would say about 30%. B was made before I came up with the full system when I was using a different approach, frequencies. That didn't work as well. The seed in the time seems to be the real magic because it compensates up and down depending, versus frequencies seem to be very stuck below 30. So the model really should be A, C, the stabilizers and the dipole.
Okay.
So I hear myself talking, so sometimes the echo messes with me.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No biggie.
Okay.
So screenshot this, guys. Download that Google Drive at the top. It has the code in it. It has the README. And if you're interested in any of these other papers, they literally break down the process of discovery over time. So the dipole will obviously focus on that. The force balancing focuses on the stabilization when I discovered those. The singularity is the first paper. The consciousness equation is just to show you how important the observer effect. And then the master equation of the universe of phase dynamics is literally getting all the mathematics from every part of the framework and combining it into one equation.
Sorry about that. My cat came over and knocked everything down.
No biggie.
Cool. We'll have to put this out. I'll put it out on a post for everybody on my site so that they can download them all.
Yeah, the more this information gets shared, the more you run experiments in different parts of where phase can be accounted for, like MRI machines, audio, video, anything that's a vector with a magnitude and phase. This should work on the phase side of things.
Very cool.
Noise is fake. Noise isn't real, man. There's basically a distinct signals that exist everywhere, and then there's thermal dynamics, what you call background radiation. Radiation is not noise, so there is no such thing as noise.
Really? So okay. Let me just play devil's advocate for a second. So the radiation factor is what you would hear as like white noise on like a TV or something like that. That's what you're saying?
Yeah, it's the universal background, right? What they call in thermodynamics. That's not noise. That's accounted for inside the model. If it was noise, it would be labeled, background noise. No, it's a layer that exists. That's not noise. What people count noise for is normally beyond that in thermodynamics, where heat and everything starts happening. They're saying it's radiating and causing this. What my algorithm is showing, or our algorithm is showing, is that all that's accounted for. It's all this happening, physical processes or physics happening on information or informational geometry.
So, sorry, I'm trying to get this through my head here real quick. So the radiation factor of everything shows up in electricity, like say like a tube TV, you would get the white noise on there. That's the radiation factor that's showing up inside your tube TV then.
Well, that's a closed system and a distinct signal. The distinct signal has a magnitude and phase, DC component and phase. People up to now have said the white noise is coming from the phase side. And according to this mathematics, it's fully accounted for and able to be filtered out at almost 100%. This system filters out noise up to, was it 30 decibels? And only had a 0.1 drop.
Okay. That's even
if you ran this on your TV, there wouldn't be any white fuzz. It would be just a blank color or whatever is there.
Wow, it makes you wonder if they put that in there intentionally then.
Right. All right. So
Oh,
this is what the next step was, to try to just like throw a wrench in the system. I said, okay, I'm using a distinct signal. It's like a wave file, right? What if we added some noise onto the wave file to try to distort it? How much can this system handle this distortion? And even up to 30 decibels, this says 20, I did up to 30 decibels. It was still at 99.1, 0.2, 0.1, 0.2. So what happened was in stage one went way down. So the seed and the heat diffusion went from like 30 to 40% down to 12 or 10%. But in stage two, the stabilizers went up into the 80s, 90s, and the dipole systems went up. So the model was accounting for the noise and removing it by itself. And I don't know, I'm still trying to figure out how it's doing this.
well, you keep talking about the conscious effect. It looks like it came alive, man. It just did it by itself.
Observer. When I asked the AI, it says the AI, the four stabilizers are being controlled by the observer, and some type of quantum correction is happening. But I'm still trying to grasp that whole quantum mechanics idea. I really am, trying to see how the quantum flux is predicting the noise or doing something to account for it. I've not cracked that code yet.
It's probably just pushing you in different directions based on how it sees it. You know what I mean? How it comes into there, and then it'll basically put it out in where it needs to be. So more of a how do I say this? Kind of like you put them into a little analyzer when you do your radio stuff, and then it'll put it into different parts where it thinks it goes. Well, it's automatically doing that. It automatically has a separation system in it. You know what I mean? And
Yeah, yes.
Might be based on the wavelength size or something like that. And it says, okay, it goes in here, and it can go in there first, so it shoots in there, the smallest to the biggest.
Another cool point is it seems to affect layer 1 and 2 first. So obviously it's not affecting the singularity, because the singularity is literally a perfect with no entropy, noise doesn't exist, but the heat diffusion, the heat equation goes way down to like 12. So it's showing that maybe noise is just heat in the system, and the four stabilizers in the dipole system is accounting for it.
Well, that might be the thing there, huh? It's a temperature difference in each signal.
Yeah, and as you can increase the noise or the temperature, the heat, it gets more distorted and less accounted for.
Oh, man. Okay, so check this out. Remember, I keep saying that it's all different levels. It's already baked into the cake. You know what I mean? Which one went up? And that's probably all it is. You know what I mean? You're talking about the radiation. The radiation went up in there inside the energy factor, right? Then maybe in the next one, the heat goes up a little bit. And then, you know what I mean? Every time it does that, it changes the entire graph of what energy it is.
Yeah, like you said, it's changing form when it recognizes that the heat is going up in the system. It says we need more stabilizers, or we need to strengthen the stabilizers that are there, right? And it just doing it
to bring it back in balance.
Pretty cool. Yeah, in harmony or into resonance.
Joe talks about this. He says it always trying to equal zero state. So it's trying to get to a balance, but I think it's an unequal state it's trying to get to. Something that, you know what I mean? It's in relation to. So like the dipole effect, it's always an uneven state, and it just wants to continue to stay there. Which
could prove you true, because the more noise you put in, the four stabilizers act on some information, but on other information, the dipole system is doing more work than the four stabilizers, trying to correct the feedback of the system.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting. All right. So when running models, it's just good practice to do this type of Monte Carlos simulation. And what this does is it'll test your model against randomness. So interject a bunch of random factors to see if something happened from the random factors and how it worked. And basically, 94% average with 20 different simulations ran.
Nice.
So it basically says that the framework isn't random, that it's a model of some sort.
Right. Not like you got like a one that just worked out of the blue. It's working on everything.
Yeah, it tests all random parameters and adds random things to it to see if those random things affect it. And then when they say we tried this, and exclude everything that could affect it, then it says, yes, this final model is, more rigorously tested, mathematically proven.
Nice. Okay, that's all of our stuff on there. So let me move this back. All right. So now we got a good understanding of what's going on, man. What else have you put in this? You put any like just basic music, movies? What all did you run through this?
I ran WAV files for this experiment, but I was building a video game, which led me to try to build a better compression, which led me to try to build a unified compression engine. So I just kept going with it. And so what I found is that you could treat magnitude as pure geometry on a Fisher manifold. If you take a fast Fourier transfer, take half the spectrum, because you don't need the full spectrum, and if you pair it with a phase rail, which is basically, instead of having a phase being in all the different numbers, you order them from smallest to highest. When I did this, it created a perfect curvature of magnitude. And from that curvature, I was able to predict a magnitude with about 4 to 6 parameters. So constants in a file, saving the whole spectrum of magnitude with 6 numbers. And now my goal was to do the same thing with phase, to predict phase with 6 more numbers or even a few more. The idea is that all information, if you treat it as a distinct signal, you could use the state machine of the data to constrain it. So instead of sending every byte, you send the parameters of the current state, which are 6 numbers, and then a gigabyte, a terabyte, a megabyte, it doesn't matter the size, are always 6 numbers or 12 numbers. So that's what I've been working on.
Wow. Okay, that's like mind-blowing compression right there. So you got 6 numbers instead of this whole humongous file.
Yeah, there's no reason to have the whole information when you can take specific parameters of the state machine, but you got to force a state upon it. And if you do this, and you know the constructs of that state, you save those and rebuild the whole data set from these numbers and the algorithm.
Okay. So let me just try to get this into terms so everybody understands it. You're basically deconstructing it down to 6 points and then writing a file that tells it how to decompress it. And as soon as it decompresses it, it takes those 6 points and builds it into the multiple points of everything that was in the file based on that algorithm of opening the file.
Yeah, but basically an algorithm and unconstructing the state of the machine. You can think of it as like an engine manifold. You got your pistons, you got all these things running, but the core of the engine might just be the 4 or 6 header bolts pushing it all together.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You don't need to account for the whole engine. You just need to account for the points which hold the whole thing together. The whole state keeps it as one.
Oh, wow. Okay, so if you were coding this thing, it'd be like, okay, the 1 and 0 show up here, but this is the reason why it does it. So as long as these parameters are met, that it'll populate the 1 with the 0, and then it'll build out the entire thing. Okay, nice.
Exactly.
I love that.
Right? So I haven't had it. I've solved both problems independently, and I'm still trying to connect them together. So I was able to solve magnitude on with a phase rail on a Fisher manifold, and now we've solved phase. But when I combine them together, it's not working yet. So I'm still working at it.
So say that again. Which parts did you already finish? I know the one you did now, but
I was able to control magnitude with they called it's about 4 parameters, and D and E. What's it called? I'm sorry, I haven't worked on magnitude for a while. But basically, these 2 parameters, because I was able to create the phase rail, and I saw that spiral when I got the equation for magnitude, it broke down to a quadratic equation. And from this quadratic equation, people are going to say, well, you have 2 sides. How do you pick which one's right? What I discovered was by forcing the geometry on it, it had what's called an oddness bias, meaning whatever was pointing towards the center of the 2 answers was always the right answer.
okay.
So that's how I solved for magnitude.
Wow, because usually we do packets of information, which is magnitude on both sides. So one side would be positive, one side would be negative.
Correct. But by aligning phase from 0 to the highest integer, it's called the phase rail, it pulls the information of magnitude into a circle. And that circle, what I found was the inside, whatever is pointing inward, was the correct part of the quadratic equation, was answering that magnitude every time.
Nice. That's so cool, man.
Yeah. So that's the magnitude side. And then you helped me with the phase. But trying to combine the 2, I'm having a little issue. So I'll let you know when I do it.
I think things work in threes, man. You might be working on a whole nother part before you get it to combine.
I agree, man. I agree.
Yeah. All right, man.
It's a lot to take in, but it's all validated through application. So download the code, run the algorithm yourself, use the algorithm yourself, and build things with it and tell me if it works, because that's what I really want to know. I want to know if it's a physical phenomenon, you know? I want to know if it's only in audio, not only in data, but is it in the gravity fire? Is it in a Tesla coil?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's kind of the next thing, isn't it? I mean, we as a society aren't there yet. We haven't connected our consciousness to just about anything, have we? We've
No,
done it.
and according to this, we need to.
Well, they always talk about when people get to a highest consciousness level and they talk about sacred geometry and stuff, it seems that you prove out the other side of it. You're proving out the geometry side of it already. You're proving out the patterning, right? And then the one thing that is the observer effects, but then again, that's the consciousness effect. So you may be working on consciousness more than you know it in the third side, just to combine the 2 to get it to interact all together.
Right. Hopefully my consciousness is working at light speed, bro.
Yeah. Well, it's faster than that. I'll just tell you that. I think that the consciousness is 10 times what a machine can do by far, maybe even more. It's and it has to do with there's no slowdown for each effect. You know what I mean? And we were talking about this a little bit before. You get to resonance computing. There's no slowdown. There's no let me process information, so I have to stop this information. It's all done simultaneously at once. So that's the observer effect, that it's working way faster than all of it because everything else has to catch up to it.
Right. And then you mentioned, what if you can use these 4 stabilizers in your gravitational flyer, right? That'd be really sick, man. The observer effect. You'd have to measure each one of these stabilizers and be able to account for them. And then you'd be able to tune the device with the stabilization of these 4 parameters. That'd be pretty cool.
Well, it's like, okay, so we're going a little bit of woo here for you, into a little bit of anti-gravity. And they used to talk about Otis D. Carr's machine being something that was controlled by consciousness. So
have to look this up. It's cool.
If you can understand that, he's basically building a field bubble around it that has to do with radiation, that has to do with compression, that has to do with the energy, you know what I mean, and the magnetism. And you put those all things together, man, and then what's missing? It's the conscious form to be able to drive it. It's the making the multiple decisions you have to make right away, instantaneously.
Yeah, and the
So,
consciousness too. I mean, I really want to hear the feedback from viewers and people on the internet, but like what I've looked up, is there another experiment that has consciousness added as a factor into it other than the split particle test? And why is the algorithm have a part of the math which is using a conscious equation, and it's coming out with perfect predictability for 15 to 20% of that delta? You know, that's not random. Something's happening, and the fact that it's that conscious equation's pointing out those dots perfectly and correcting when needing, that's phenomenal, man.
well, it might be how you're building it too, because you're compressing then decompressing, right? But you're giving it a basis for those answers, right? Like this is the direction you have to go in order to build this. But what if it's using that in a conscious way to rebuild things, to put it in the correct parameters? It's taking the same type
Right?
of, you know what I mean, information you're giving it, but it's saying, okay, but we missed 2 or 3 parameters. So it automatically adds it in there. And then at the end, it gives you the answer that's correct.
Right? That's cool, man, to think about it that way. Yeah, like it has its own intelligence, right?
Yeah. Well, everything's, you know, we were talking earlier about this, about the computers. Do they have intelligence or consciousness? Well, they have the ability to decipher algorithms, that's for sure. And they can decide which ones you're missing. So if you said you had 90% of it, they could find the last 10%, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Basically in the same kind of form that you're using. They look at, okay, how did he do it? What was he looking for? What was the answer he's looking for? And then boom, here was the last 2 factors you missed. But it's going to show up in a code somewhere in your code. It's going to have to pull it out. So when you run everything through there on the lines of it, I bet you there's an anomaly in there.
Yeah, and I would have to look more into that equation. I just got it working, and then you don't broke something that you don't fix something that's not broke. So now once it's working, I was like, wow. I really got to go into researching each aspects of it, but my goal was to understand phase so that I can derive it into few constants. And at this point, I think there's 7 or 8 numbers I can fully construct phase from.
Kind of makes you wonder if you wanted to go in to get one of those little things put on your head with all those little suction cups, you know what I mean, that they do, and see if you can't control something, like just plug yourself into the machine and say, all right, let's do this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that's how future technology will definitely be. There'll be a stepping stone before we just do it ourselves to where we're having devices showing that it's happening.
Probably be like some little halo thing, man, that goes around here, goes around your ears, just goes around the back. You know what I mean? And before you know
I
it, it's
think
mapping
Back
it.
to the Future. That funny.
He's got the big machine with the light bulb on the top. That's so awesome.
That's what I think of.
That's so great, man. Yeah, I think that's going to become a big part of it, man. You're going to have to find out that whole portion next.
Yeah, I'll be conscious studies. And the equation I wrote came from a framework I'm working on called the Metatron framework, which unites seven domains of information through a dimensionless unit and different folded keys. And when I derived that equation, 2 really important things came out of it. Time emerges from a 0-dimensional field, and consciousness, an equation for consciousness, emerged. And I ran it on a neural network to see the effect of my equation and how it would work. And I had to set up a neural network with 3 phases at different angles, which created a almost like a catching for the network to go through and separated it into different layers. When this happened, the neural network had 90% cognitive awareness, not consciousness, but what's called cognitive awareness, meaning that when I asked the network a question and it knew the question was saying it was wrong, it recognized it was saying the wrong thing, which no other networks have the ability to do that. So something special about this time equation and this consciousness equation. You'll see them at the end. Oh, wait, that's on a different slide. Never mind. I have to share that next time. Yeah. But those are pretty cool.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing, isn't it, though? I mean, you talk about time, and we talk about time dilation on here, and I don't going to get into space-time a whole lot. I like time dilation a lot better. Only because it works on the energy forces, you know what I mean? Where the other is a description of gravity, which they don't have an answer to gravity yet. So it's kind of hard for me to place the two together, but it's much better on the time dilation field, because then it tells you the compression and everything of the energy is what's causing the whole thing to work, is because they changed the actual geometry of the form. So yeah, I think when you get a little bit more into this, there's going to be a self-correction in every system. Like, for instance, is energy alive? And you think, no, it's not. And then all of a sudden you see it start going certain pathways, and you're like, okay, that's not supposed to happen that way. Like,
right.
You put energy onto something and it starts bypassing all the circuits and just going over to the light bulb and turning it on. And you're like, okay, well, what happened to all this work I just did to make all these circuits? Like, why is it not going into any of them?
Why did it skip it all?
Yeah, it just went over the top
Yeah.
of everything, and I'm just going, okay. So there's something more going on here, and I'm not saying energy is alive. I'm just saying that there's something more goes on, that it knows something that we don't. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah, I agree, man. I mean, and also that whole dipole system, and I did not expect to see that at the very end. When you got rid of all those parts of phase, then it was literally a positive negative feedback loop. I mean, is that the electricity even happening in data? Is that what that's showing? I mean, I'm curious to understand what that really is.
Well, everything's just ones and zeros, which means it's an on and off of a transistor or a MOSFET, right? Which is all it is. It's just ones and zeros, so it's ons and offs. So in a system that's all connected together, okay, in one direction, then it would have to have that, right? Because they don't build computing to get to 0, 1, 2 or 0, 1, 2, 3. They build it to 0, 1. You know what I mean? So you always have just an on and off structure. So
that's interesting. So you're saying that the dipole system is more of a 1 and 0 parameter, changing ones and zeros when necessary?
Yeah, one has to be on, one has to be off. You know what I mean? At all times. So even if you resonate them two items together, one's always on, one's always off. So it's a back and forth effect that goes on in all of it. So they're trying to say that the new computers and stuff like that go to the next number. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But that's not always
that algorithm.
Yeah. Well, which would make it faster, yeah. But I don't think that they're doing it manually. I think it does it because of the saturation effect, and it jumps over, and they can't control it as well as they think. That's why it hasn't come out in the form that we can buy, because
not stable.
No, it's not. So, I mean, what people don't usually understand is you can take a Tesla coil and I can put a wire down the center, but I can run 50 transistors off of it with an on and off effect that would turn on 50 coils. You know what I mean? It doesn't make a lot of sense, but it does when you start talking about saturation of elements. Once you saturate it, you're always on. But once you're always on, then the amplitude of the frequency itself will drive the system and allow it to operate everything without, you know what I mean, the transistor working in the traditional fashion.
Yeah, self-correcting, so it's already up and running and the system has the loop going.
Yeah, so think about it this way. If you sat there at your computer and all you did was play your little instrument, right? You could control the computer based on that with an unpacking code like you just explained to everybody. And with a little flute, we could sit there and control the entire computer, and it would be like 1 billion times faster.
Yeah, all in resonance. Another thing about the math I'm doing, physicists and people will kind of like not like, is that I treat a lot of stuff from a zero dimension. And I feel that in mathematics, we just ignore that where the information came from. And we just start working in 1, 2, 3D. And that's a little point I like to put out there. Why not think about the singularity or what happened before space time? You know, what is there before space time?
Mm-hmm.
That matters.
No, it's an interesting question because it begs the question: are we the only one? Because
Right.
because you got to say if it came from something, what it came from. But then does that mean it also could replicate itself to something else? So yeah, it's an interesting question because it's a whole deep dive when you go into that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, the phase C, if that's what the math is saying, that means all information all exists in one place.
Yes.
It literally says that it's all, and there's a singularity that holds all the phase, and doesn't matter what you're computing, it came from there. It's pretty radical.
Which would mean we have one consciousness that runs everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
There's one point where all of us are connected into that one point, and we all are.
So it all depends on what you want to call it, a singularity of the consciousness. You can call it God. You can call it what you want. We're all tied into it. You can't get away
Right.
from it. So
Yeah.
a question here for you. Let's see. Question is Richard looking at Mark? I don't know the name there. Don Winter's work for Fractal GUT.
I'd watched Dan often, and I was really interested in his longitudinal wave theories. But I'm still trying to grasp a lot of his work. I watch it, I enjoy it, but grasping his fractal theory, I haven't fully comprehended, I would say. I'll go ahead and I'll start doing more research into it. It's pretty cool.
Dan Winters is cool, by the way. I watched some of his stuff, man. He's really in line with a lot of stuff that we do here too. So I think that's really cool. So is oh man, now I'm starting to forget names. We watch everything from magnetism from one guy, man, and it's Ken Wheeler, and I think he's got a lot of great ideas too, man. That kind of flow in the systems like we're talking about, and I think he gets the whole consciousness thing with it as well. So, but he's quick to point out, man, when something's off. He just just get rid of that, man. He's not into it at all. So
good, and I'd like to see more experiments like the one we came up with that has an observer effect, which actually helps stabilize the system or the signal. I would love to hear more about things like that.
Well, he's got an observer effect. You ever see him with his crystal and his magnet?
Tell me about it.
Okay, so check it out. If you have a crystal and a magnet, there's one side of a crystal that has a small magnetic value. Now, depending on the person that's controlling it, right? And this is the thing, you have to be sensitive to the field. And if you're sensitive to the fields, you can pick up the actual magnetism working on the crystal, okay? If you're desensitized to the field, you won't feel it at all. So two people do the exact same experiment with the exact same parts and come up with two different answers.
Wow. Yeah. So are you resonating or are you not resonating, right?
Well, resonating in the right zone, I guess it would be.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So
right? To feel that?
Yeah, so like Joe resonates in one zone. He feels everything around him, you know what I mean? And completely aware of everything. Dude, I'm like a black hole sitting in the room, you know what I mean? I'm not resonating with anything, man. My mind is like shut down to that. So yeah, it's hilarious to find the different stories that come out of both. But yeah, it's a total observer effect when you get to that because there's people out there do it that can't feel the magnetism at all. But when you get somebody who can, every second that goes by, they feel it.
What's that called? Piezoelectric? What at the crystals form? I once got a crystal, heated it up, and I threw it in a bucket of water, and I had my hand on a copper rod that was in the water, not understanding what I was doing. And electricity just shot up my arm, and I felt this like resonance that felt really good. It was kind of cool feeling, man. I was like, what just happened? Yeah, that's pretty neat.
So you got the piezoelectric effect that went through it and went through the water and into you?
Yeah, it felt good. Actually, it was like I've touched like an electrical fence once. It wasn't that. It was like this different feeling that hit me. It was really actually enjoyable almost.
Don't say that. You have
And,
people out there doing that all day. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Now, piezoelectric effect is different, man. It's a different. I don't want to say this. The waveforms in them are different too. So, and I don't mean crazy different. I just mean that they all have energy in them. You just can't tell that there's energy into them. So the medium is water. So anytime that you put them in water, you can find a frequency in most crystals, okay, that'll show you they have power. So if you put it in the water and you tap it, you know what I mean, like a wire you put to it to your oscilloscope, you can start seeing the actual frequencies coming out of it because the piezoelectric effect is activated. In some, you don't
Sick.
even need that. You could just put it in water and then it comes out of there. So every one of them has a frequency to it already built in. That's a natural frequency of it. So if you amplify that in any way, then it starts to go throughout the room, man, and then it's really trippy time.
Nice, nice.
Yeah, it really starts to affect you on a totally different level. And I think it has to do with the fact that the earth itself has piezoelectricity running through it. And it's one of
Mhm.
the main factors of the planet. You know what I mean? Because there's crystals everywhere, caves of it, you know what I mean? Everywhere you go. So you're going to find some kind of consciousness effects with it. So, okay,
Sorry, I
hold
need to
on.
drink something. My throat got itchy.
Yeah, not a problem. I'm just reading over the comments here to make sure, see if we have another question for you. I think we did. Um, let's see. Richard and you are right on point, and I highly recommend getting in touch with Mark. Can you say that name, Rof? I don't want to say it too bad.
I would pronounce it horribly if so.
Rokaba.
I
I'll just
can.
say Rokaba.
I'm gonna
Check out his
screenshot
blog.
this.
Hmm,
All right, I got a screenshot of it. I definitely will,
nice.
man.
Sorry about the name messing up, guys. I don't read that name very often. I don't know who that is. I would like to know. I'm going to have to
Yeah.
research it.
I'm mathematically inclined. My wife's the one who's good at English literature and checks all my papers.
Nice.
We all have our talents.
Yeah. I did that with my wife one day, man. We were sitting there. We both worked at a soda company, right? So at the end of the day, you have to write down your numbers and stuff like that. And it's like 20 or 30 numbers. I said, okay, let's do this. You do all your math on the paper, right? Use any calculator you want. And I'll just do it in my head and we'll see who gets there faster. So we're sitting there,
Nice.
man, and I go, boom, there's the answer. You know what I mean? Because we do this in school all day, right? Or like, do you get to the game with your kids and they start flipping cards and they go, okay, you got to count them. You know what I mean? Face cards are 10 and then the other ones are the individual numbers. So they go, okay, that's too fast in the addition. Let's try to get them messed up. Okay. You have to divide them now, Dad. Okay. So,
That's
because you know how they're in
awesome.
school and they go, okay, we're gonna make sure we're smarter than Dad. They go, all right, let's go. And they go, God damn it, we
Not,
can't beat them there either. So then we go into all the different ones and they just threw the cards down and said, we're out of here, dude. We're not doing this with you anymore. You know what I mean?
you're a real life computer, a real life calculator. Leave me alone.
Yeah,
It's funny.
not that good, man. I get a lot of things wrong, but I run the numbers really fast. You know what I mean? Like as fast as I write math, I could do it. You know what I mean? That's it. So I don't
I'm
do all
really
the.
good at abstract thinking, and I'm pretty good at computers programming when it comes to. I'm building a video game, and I'm really hoping to have it done for the next year or two.
What's the video game about?
It's called The Light Within, and basically there's 8 portals. One of them is a portal that you're at. It's a portal city, and then there's 7 portals to travel through, which are the 7 chakras. And you collect weapons, armors, and do daily practices to try to better yourself in the game and expand your ability in the game. So it's, it kind of has to do with sacred geometry and all that type of stuff too.
Oh wow, that sounds like something a lot of people that are watching this channel would like to play, man.
Yeah. It's an open world for people to explore, collect things, battle each other. That's 1 year so far, and I'll probably have another year.
Nice. Yeah, I can't wait for that to come
Yeah,
out. I'll play that every day.
sounds good, man. I'll tell you the secret. If you collect all 7 armor sets, you get the void set.
Nice. All right,
Yeah.
we're gonna have to get back on that, man, when you put it out. I like
Good.
I like video games like that make you think a little bit, kind of like old school King's Quest, where you're on your computer typing it in. I don't know if you ever played that or anything.
I was at my first video game was Duke Nukem 3D. I remember putting the disc in and loading it through the command line. And yeah, I played a few of those.
Oh, now you tell you how old I am now.
MS DOS.
My first
Yeah.
one was always worse than that. You had like a computer and you typed in the zeros and ones, and it
Oh my
basically made a machine that would like be a tank or something like that would go to shoot your enemy. So
That's cool.
yeah, but that was like old school coding days when you had to code out your own game in order to make
Yeah.
that. So yeah, man, I feel really old now. But yeah, that
I
was
love
back.
being an MS DOS child.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean. Yeah, you get all the fast keys and you start to learn, you know what I mean, the exe files and stuff like that. That was old school,
Yeah.
man. That was nice. Now it's all boxes and hello world, and it's like different thing,
Yeah.
man.
No one's curling through a terminal to read a website, but I do.
I love it, man. Old school.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, thank you for letting me talk about this, man. I mean, taking something like this, a discovery like this, and just giving it away, people are like, why didn't you patent it? One, patenting is too expensive. And then two, why keep information that can help so many different fields? If literally this is a system that's resilient to noise, MRI machines, audio processing, anything that's a distinct signal that's using phase can benefit from this algorithm,
Yeah. Well, hey, you can make a lot of money with that algorithm, as well as I do. Those things.
Well, it's out there now. Anyone can use it. Once it's public knowledge, can't patent it anymore. So
I love
the
it.
world enjoy it. I have another theory I'd like to share later on, maybe on a different show. And I'm hoping that this mathematics helps prove that the other, my theory of everything, or the 7 domains of information being connected. I'm hoping that this will set the premises to believe the rest of the math, that how it works.
Nice. Very cool. I
Yeah.
think a question or comment here. If I made crystals that had a kilo, mega, or wow.
Wow.
Okay, let's not talk about that. Sorry, I should have read that ahead of time. We don't get into military stuff. There's a ton of military applications for that stuff, and I'm not going to.
My first thought is you're making an EMP, man. Don't blow up my computer.
Yeah. Dude, I can make one that'll. Oh, never mind. Well, no, I go in there and turn this thing on, man. Read every file on your computer, and then turn it off, and you never know it was there. So
I see. That's what I was thinking about my compression algorithm. I'm like, I would not want someone to be able to steal Amazon's database with 12 numbers. Let me write down 12 numbers really quick and walk out this building.
Oh, dude, that's wrong.
Yeah. So, it would have to be deployed in the right way and for the right reasons. Definitely.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of why it's given out for free, isn't it? So that, anybody that understands what you're actually talking about, that they can, use it. And then if they try to use it for the wrong reasons, you can look up exactly who it is.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's got their signature in their own work.
Yeah, it's true. And especially if someone once I finished my compression algorithm, if they used it, it would be obvious that it was mine, because the constants and the structures of the state machine, it would show proof that it's 100% what I built,
Well, yeah, just the way you unpack it shows it's yours. Yeah. So
exactly.
that's what I mean. Everybody leaves their own signature on everything, man. So, and it has to do with your individual thought process, your consciousness getting in there and deciding how it works.
Yeah, maybe we leave a little piece of ourselves in everything we build, right?
Yep. Mine does. That's for sure.
Yeah. Oh, I had a thought and it just escaped me. Oh, well, I'll come back.
It's all right, man. I have that happen all the time. I'm getting older. The older I get, the more things I forget, even though I keep learning every day.
Right. Only have so much room in this bucket, and it overflows all the time.
I tell you about, I was working in the garage here the other day, and I grabbed my sphere Tesla coil, and I paid no mind to what frequency it was at. You know what I mean? Even though I knew it was right close to one of my other Tesla coils that I usually test with, I wasn't even
Mhm.
thinking about it, man. And I just picked this thing up, and all of a sudden I started burning my hand, and I go, "What the hell is going on? Why am I burning my hand? This thing, I don't even have like another coil attached to it or
Yeah,
anything."
nothing.
Yeah. And then I started looking around, and I put it over to this other coil, and I go, "Okay." And then it started burning more, and I'm just, I'm like 5, 6 feet away at this point.
Whoa, I was thinking a foot away.
Yeah, and I'm going, "Okay, we got a problem here. What's going on?" So then I checked the numbers on it, and I'm like, I want to say 9 kilohertz difference in the coils. Okay. So I can actually put out some real nice firestorm plasma out of this thing, man, by cranking it up over 50 volts on my main circuit. So I just had to stop and realize that geometry has nothing to do with the answer that's coming out of this coil. For instance, it resonates at this, even though this is a sphere and it's a Tesla coil, and this one's a cylinder. It matters about the resonant frequency and what the frequency of the pickup coil is. You know what I mean? The other effect
Interesting,
to
very
it,
interesting.
yeah, the other effect to it was the geometry only, it works on the compression value. It doesn't work on, you know what I mean, the resonance value. It works on the compression. So inside of the actual coil, it compressed differently in the sphere than it did the cylinder.
Mm,
So when I'm picking up a node in the center of a spherical Tesla coil, it's completely different in how it works than if I pick it up in a cylinder Tesla coil. Because the cylinder Tesla coil gives me my spiral up and down right away. In the
correct. You were
sphere,
talking about that earlier.
yeah, it compresses first. It now has a
So it
compression
heats
to,
up.
yeah. So it had a
That's
compression towards the
interesting.
center, but then it gives me both of them.
That's
So,
crazy, man. Wow. All those coils are pretty sick, man. I can't wait to see the different experience you do with them.
yeah. So, yeah, it's just my side of it, man. That's what I work on. You work on math, I work on a bunch of electricity.
Yeah, yeah. But I see a lot of correlation between the gravity fire and you're trying to control plasma, which, people said is random. And every time you run your experiment, I see the circling happening, like it's, the unit circle or something. And I'm like, dude, that is 100% phase taking control of the situation. Now, how do you control it? Right? That was the interesting part. Now
Well,
I think we know how.
give me your idea on it, man. What do you think I should do to this thing?
Um, you have to build a sensoring system close enough to not distort the signal itself, but to measure, to find invariance, or basically what the stabilizers would use to correct. And if you found, I don't know how you do the observer effect, but if you do the resonance, the tension, and the wrapping, I would have to learn how I could make that a more mechanical thing. But if you did those things and corrected them inside the field, then you would have a 100% stable lattice, or basically it would lattice out or stream out into a perfect controllable, I think, a basically layer around the whole gravity fire that would be controllable in how much you put into it.
So then it would like the lattice effect once you tap it and it moves like a wave throughout. Is that what you're saying? You get that nice spike in the center and you'd be able to move
Yeah,
it?
yeah. Yeah, it'd be like a lattice effect. If you can control it with the 4 stabilizers, it's no longer pushing. You can look at the energy of the plasma doing this and trying to do what it's doing, but it's not, making something that's stable or coherent, right? So with the 4 stabilizers, you'll be able to create a coherent lattice that's working as one unit to do what you want with it. So it'd be a way to control the plasma.
Much better tuning system.
Yeah, yeah.
So you have to put parameters in it in order so it stays in those parameters, and then to be able to compensate and put the energy where it needs to be.
Yeah, yeah. If you use the algorithm would recognize the stabilization points of that system. And if you knew how to control the stabilizers to make them do what they do, versus resonate or tension, or I'm not sure about the 2-pi wrapping. We had to figure that one out. But if you figured them all out, you'd be able to create a lattice of plasma that was stable, not what plasma does now, which just does kind of almost like the path of least resistance almost.
So the way I see it is it's like a sphere, but each sphere layer, okay, moves in a certain direction, and it creates a little bit of friction in between the two of them. And that friction gives it a higher value where it's hard for it to pass between layers. You know what I mean? The resonance
Yeah,
is the structure of where the frequency is of each layer on it, right? And then
that makes
because it's
sense.
spherical, it has a compression to the center. Now, in the center, it has to be a node that's built in the center because it can't, how do I say this? It can't just be a solid activated piece of metal. It has to be metal with direction. It has to have a directional factor to the center. So it has
I
to
agree.
be so it has to be a node there. So it creates a center point for it to compress upon. And
Yeah, where
then,
the two fields of plasma are in opposite directions, pressing right down to the point, right?
there you go. And so, yeah, it goes back and forth, which would create the anode cathode effect, right? Which would pull towards the center, which it does. The hardest thing is to get the compression high enough. So you have to be able to get the fields to go together. So that's where the algorithm is perfect, right? It'll
Mhm.
dial in where the fields overlap each other and how close they come. Because you could be way over here because you can't see it. You have to do it based on, lights or something like that, or a radio that's in the room to get you to get that perfect level where it's right next to it, and then you can back off. You know what I mean? But
Mhm.
that's where the algorithm comes in because it creates that value right there where it sets each parameter line and gives you that perfect signal because you do it with different parts. They're not
Different layers,
all,
yeah.
yeah, they're all not put together in a way where it's cohesive, but putting an algorithm in there makes it cohesive. Now,
Yeah, it makes it smart now, right? Be
now
able to
we
correct.
all we have to do is create where we want a higher compression out so that we can get it to bounce on it. And then once you bounce that, it's like a bubble in the air. It just kind of floats up.
I'm interested, and I believe that you'll do it, man. I really do. I've been watching your channel for years now, and no one understands this topic like you do, man. So I believe that you'll build it before, for sure, man.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm fairly close, man. I got a lot of things worked out, but it's kind of difficult in the end. I love the algorithm, by the way, to do this because it works way better than, what I mean, just getting your mind around where each thing is. But if I could see this thing, man, I would have been done with it months ago. It's it's so hard to put this into perspective for people. I've made systems that I can change frequency, you know what I mean, on the beginning end. I can change it in the middle. I have now just achieved frequency on the back end of it. Okay.
That's cool.
So I'm able
And
to
now you're
affect,
controlling both.
yeah, I just got to the part where I can control all of it together and try to make it a cohesive unit. It's still not there yet because while all the energy on it's cohesive, you're running into the pattern of the motors themselves and their frequencies are not cohesive yet to the plasma states. So I get
Yeah, yeah.
compression on it, but I'm not getting as how do I say this? I get the field to build. I can cancel out some of the gravity outside if it was built in a thicker manner to each other, that I can get a lot more of the gravity cancel out. And then I can get that. I've already got the bounce. I figured it out because energy's energy. And once you figure that out, you understand that whether it's sound, okay, in an acoustic level, or if it's actual plasma, which gets moved by the acoustic level, you can change the vector direction based on it. So we use like
So yeah, control. Use the stabilizers to control it with these new aspects that you built.
right. So you see what I'm looking at, right? I've already got the direction and everything. I can get the thing to pop a little bit, but in order to get it to stabilize flight, you have to be able to control that motor speed with the rest of it and get it all to be cohesive. And every time I do it, I fry the motors.
And it's interesting to have the 4 stabilizers controlling the discs, and then the anode diode part of the algorithm controlling the 2 outer, what you said, to bring that as one system. That'd be very interesting.
I have a feeling that I'm 180 degrees on the opposite side of my mind of where those motors are supposed to be. You know what I mean? Like I'm completely out of tune with it. Like I don't have it right at all. Something I'm thinking it's going one way and it's supposed to go the other, that kind of thing. And why the other effects are working, that's just not one that's going into it.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to deal with that distortion in the middle, but guess what? The algorithm can account up to, I think, 30 or 60% of distortion being added, and the system will rectify. So that's cool.
Yeah, well, it'll bring my project to another level because it'll add the other aspect to it of self-correction. So
I just thought of something. If the gravity fire is the phase of the system, I would say the direction the gravity fire drives is the magnitude of the system.
yes,
You know,
the magnitude will point to one side. Yes, vector direction, just like we were talking about
Yeah.
earlier. Absolutely. It'll compress it, and then where it decompresses is the direction it'll go.
That's the magnitude.
Yep.
Yeah. That'll be interesting to see, man. I'm excited.
Oh man, I love it. I love it when things come out to work out where I can actually, you know what I mean, use everything in the system to get there.
Yeah.
It's been a frustrating road. Let me just tell you that. So
How much time we got left, old man built?
Oh, we got about 30, 40 minutes.
Okay. You mind if I talk about my theory of everything a little bit?
You need me to pull up the thing, or you just want to go through it?
If you want to pull it up, you can, but basically, I wrote an equation, very simple. It was trying to get magnitude, and it's for compression. I was trying to get magnitude, phase, and phase index compressed into one key, and these keys would represent all of the data, and I would uncompress these keys. But what I discovered was I was going through Calculus 3, and we were told to form a model of things. And so I decided to model a new model with my key as the denominator, and we were solving for an x above it. And what I also realized was removing phase and replacing it with phi create a stabilization in the system. And I don't know why I thought of this, man. But also I said, what if every constant was connected somehow? And I decided to put x as constants between domains. And the finite structure came out to 4 decimals in my simulation I ran. And then every other number was either a 0, a 1, or the phi ratio. And after doing a little reverse engineering, I realized that I found a 0-dimensional unit that allowed for cross-geometric information to be shared, and 7 domains of realities came up, from quantum to biology to chemistry. I got to look at them real quick, but yeah, it was mind-blowing to see those numbers come out. Let's see.
Well, hold on. I can pull it if you want.
Yeah. And so what I realized was current science is almost like the Tower of Babel. All domains speak different languages. Yeah, this is it. Cool. So, yeah, they all speak different languages, man. And with a zero-dimensional cross-analysis, it united them all into one giant information geometry, which allowed for cross-information between domains and showed correlations and new insights that other domains would never have found by themselves. It's pretty cool. So if science would start using this unit, everyone would have literally one space where all information could be shared and computed, and you'd find patterns across the system, which would bring our discovery process up by magnitudes. Yeah, pretty cool.
So people are saying superposition, 5 spin inside, 7 spin outside. It's a 12D
Interesting.
wheel.
Yeah, I believe it, man. I definitely will go through the slide and we'll share with you the evidence I have, and also give you the code to run it. But that's what we'll go over: the keys, the unit, the realization, the domains. We'll go through it. My question was how somehow constants connected informational domains. That was my hypothesis.
Okay.
And then we'll go down, next slide. What I discovered was a new constant, a Metatron key, a universal constant. And that's the equation for cross-domain key making.
Nice.
Yeah. Here's the next one is the actual, can you make it a little bigger, old man?
I can't make it bigger, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's fine. So here you can see how the equation works. The Metatron unit has X on top, which is the domain you're looking for. M is the constant that I discovered. F is the Schumann frequency, 4.32. It works perfect. And 10 to the 9th is a normalization factor to make it dimensionless.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. What did you use for your number for Schumann resonance again?
Under frequency, was it 4.32 or 23? I forget.
Okay.
I always mix the frequency up a little. So there's the drive. If you download that, that's my simulation I ran. There's a division by zero error. You can correct that by using L'Hopital's rule of denominator over numerator over denominator and correcting the powers. But either way, the results come out the same. So yeah, it's math. It shows the connections. Interesting thing that happened when I ran it, biology over the ratio of chemistry came out to that number. That's a finite constant that has never been derived and can't be explained currently. And I predicted it up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8 numbers. And it came out, it evolved naturally from the framework. I didn't put that in there.
Okay, so hold on. So you just basically putting in the information you did, this came out naturally?
It just was, all the things canceled out, and it proved that biology divided by chemistry in the Metatron framework, the resonance ratio is just a finite structure constant. And also, time-space came out perfectly 90 degrees orthogonal of each other, proving that Einstein's theory of time-space being a 93 orthogonal was true. All came out from the same framework. You could run the code. And then what else happened? Every other output came out as 0, 1, or 5. Normally, when I make something for fun, I see random decimals, numbers that make no sense all over. But here, every number was 0, 1, or 5. And I was like, wait, when you see 1 in mathematics, it's a special thing happening. And so I was like super excited that there was ones popping up all over showing normalization. Yeah, very excited.
Very nice. So you basically have you don't have all the decimal points on there, all the dirty math. You have all the clean stuff. It's zeros, ones, you know what I mean? Right. Okay.
And 5. So zeros means that the domains didn't couple. One mean there was a perfect coupling between that information. And phi means that it was a pattern of life. Life itself was showing itself in the system. It was pretty cool. You'll see the grid, the matrix I made. It shows a perfect line diagonal. So if you're interested in actually using the system, this is a cross-domain equations where you can actually compilate two different domains and basically bring them into the Metatron unit and see almost like a resonance factor to see how coherent they are with each other. And yeah, I'll bring them into this unit to be able to measure things. Yeah, so if you look over there, 0, 1, phi, and then the constant came out just for chemistry to biology, which is showing that the primary life force, or basically the primary way information is controlled, is through biology and chemistry. That's what it means, I guess. And also, if you look down there, the light as a mediator, 4.32, using that hertz, showed that light was connecting all 7 domains together through that frequency.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah. And I just decided to put these numbers one day when I was working on my compression, and also just came to me and I tried it. It's awesome.
So I got a question for you. 4.32 hertz instead of 7.83, I think it is, the Schumann resonance.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you get to the
4.32? Oh, so that's not the Schumann. Then what other resonance is that? I misquoted then. 4.32 is the Earth's resonance. The Earth's resonance, right? Isn't that the Schumann?
Okay. Yeah.
I might be thinking of a different name for it, but 4.32.
Okay.
I'll look up the name of that frequency, but I didn't discover it. It's part of science.
Well, I just wondered because everybody quotes 7.83. So that was the only reason I asked, because they always
I may be misspeaking.
Yeah, so I just wanted to clear that up for everybody if you had an answer.
If anyone in chat knows what the frequency, the significance of, I just thought of it. 4.32 is what happens when your brain goes into meditation, and it's the frequency. It's a special name of it. It's the sacred frequency of when you go into meditative state. It's the something wave your brain runs at. The delta or something special wave that it means you're meditating. That frequency is that number. I thought it was called the Schumann resonance, but I was wrong.
No, that's is it an alpha wave, a beta wave, or there's another one, theta?
The omega, the theta. So it's the theta wave. It's a frequency by which the theta wave runs. So yeah, it's the theta wave I put in there, and yeah, it's actually one of the only frequencies I know off the top of my heart. I just put it in there and it will start working.
No, I'm glad you cleared that up, because it makes it actually more important when you're dealing with consciousness and stuff like that.
There you go, right?
Yeah.
That's why my equation started putting out, when I derived it, 2 really cool things happened. Time emerges and a consciousness equation, which I'll share at the end.
Nice. Okay, cool. All right, let's get back to this. So I believe we were on...
Cool. So that constant, 3.09 to the 12th, is a normalization factor, which allows all 7 domains to normalize. So it's like a new constant, but it works.
Okay, next one.
All right, this is a hypothesis, and this actually has to do with you. I got singularity, thermodynamics, the 4 stabilizers, and the dipole system, and put them all into one equation. That's this equation right here. And it literally, my hypothesis is that this equation might be part of reality itself. If phase is a singularity existing in our reality, then maybe this is the equation which describes that whole model.
Very cool.
This is all that I've derived from the Metatron framework. Probably the most important is the time structure unfolds. It's a folding. It's immersive. Time is not connected to 90 degrees, but basically time exists independently. It emerges. Also, I extended Einstein's relativity. It was missing two parts, phi, and then the tensor built by the Metatron equation that I derived. So those are some two pretty good ones. And the last slide, you'll see the consciousness, this equation. So that's my consciousness equation. I added that as the observer effect in our phase model, and it predicted 15 to 20% of the stabilization points in phase.
Nice.
Yeah. This is kind of compiling all my work into a cheat sheet. People screenshot it, go ahead and try it in your own models, apply it in your own, exploration, and get back to me. Let me know if it helped you out.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I think what I'm gonna do, if you don't mind, I'll screenshot all this and put them into folders and put it on my what is it called? My oh, now I'm searching for a name. I'm sorry.
Your forum? What did you say?
I'll put it on my no, now I'm really doing it. I'll get back to you on that. On my
That's fine.
Patreon. I'll put it on my Patreon for free for people. There you go. Sorry
Right
about
on,
that.
man.
Brain fart going on in my head. I'll put it. I'll download all this information, all the slides on it, and put it on my Patreon along with all the links for everybody. I'll put it on the free side for everybody, so you can just go there and check it out. And then I'll leave a link for the Patreon in the description in the next day, and I'll have all this stuff up for them so they can get in there and they get in. Get all your stuff and redo testing on there and see all that. They can look at all the information on there and all the equations that you have.
Cool, man. Yeah, verify it or tell me if I'm full of crap and I messed up.
I doubt 100%.
I like to hear all of it.
Yeah, there's no full of crap.
I would say I was full of crap, but if I didn't apply the mathematics into applications that were working, then I'd be like, why is it working?
Well,
But
yeah,
it is.
But what I like about what you're doing is you're not trying to flip the equation or change the equation, you know what I mean, or add in another variable in order to get it to work. It just does it naturally.
Yeah, another thing is the whole thing about phase up to our model, it's always been a fast Fourier transfer and then model phase. We don't use a fast Fourier transfer anywhere in our model, but somehow we hit 100% through singularity, thermodynamics, stabilizers, and a dipole system. Where was the FFA or FFT or whatever? Where was it? There was no fast Fourier transfer, and somehow we're able to embody all of the frequency, all of the magnitude, all of the phase. Well, right now we're focused on phase, but all of that spectrum of phase. My bad, but yeah,
Yeah,
I got excited.
it's all right, man. So it says you need to get a hold of Mark. He needs you ASAP. Apparently, he's running something in there that needs your codes and stuff for him.
I would love to, man. We had to code something that in real time ran at a fast enough rate and got the information correctly. Oh, chip design. Oh, heck yeah, man. Yeah, so he would actually build the circuits required to build the algorithm into the board so the machinery itself can actually react in real time to the system. I'll be right on, man. Yeah, I'd be more than happy to give him any of it.
Oh, that'd be awesome, man. All right. Now,
just remember motherboard of the ship.
Yeah, you got to send that my way as soon as you guys figure it out, man. Or if you need my help in any way, just ask. That is so awesome. Yeah. I'm going to have to do that, man. You can get me on a computer code and stuff again, man. I'll be at the damn thing for all day. You know what I mean? Like, it's bad enough. it's bad enough when I get my cat on there all day, but I remember old school, man, when we're sitting on the old computers, man, in DOS, and you're sitting there coding. It would be like, dude, just coffee all the time and nothing else. You're just drinking coffee. You're like, oh my God, mainline coffee. There's no time for food. It's just more buttons.
How I used
Sorry.
to be. Now I'm down to 2 cups a day, but man, I was up there at one point.
Oh man. Yeah.
Yeah, coding this is very difficult. Honestly, I read syntax very well. And I'm having between ChatGPT, Claude, coding the mathematics, me reading the syntax, making sure it's using the correct mathematics, which, I've got pretty high up in math. And then I go back, and redo it.
There's a blog right there. Yeah, you might want to screenshot that.
Cool. Cool. Yeah, man. So that's phase for you, bro. You got derived. I started working on it probably 6 months ago, but I didn't really make any improvement until we started talking just a few weeks ago. And then everything just happened.
Hey, you make a good connection, man, and you're able to push it through. So that's awesome. Everything's universal.
Thank you for your help, old man build. Oh, thank you, man.
Thank you for coming on and doing this, man, and stuff like that. You're awesome, bro. It's not me. Trust me. I just go out here and
I hear you in my head when I was looking at the graph and saw someone kept telling me heat distribution, and I'm like, thermodynamics and data computer systems. This is zeros and ones. What the heck are you talking about? But why does the same principles work in the physical world as the informational world? Well, are we all just in below space-time? Is there one fabric of compressed information geometry we're ignoring?
Well, because what it is. It's all written in code, man. So, every time I see them when they say, oh, we're living in a matrix, right? I always have to click on the video to see if two things are happening, okay? One, do they really think it's a matrix? You know what I mean? If we're in some foolish system that somebody built. Or number two is, do they really figure out that everything is mathematical down to the end of it and that they only had to put in the correct formula to find it? And every time you put in the wrong formula, you'll be on the other side of the universe, not knowing what the hell you're doing.
Or you're making a ship, that'll definitely happen. If you're trying to go through the fold or through the geometry, you better got a navigation system that runs these same properties. Don't be using second dimension or first dimensional frequency mathematics. You'll get lost so fast.
We're gonna build a jump drive, you know what I mean, like the Battlestar Galactica, man, and we're gonna end up inside of a sun with some of these people.
Yeah, for real, dude. They're not even thinking beyond time and space,
Well, they still haven't figured out energy yet, and why they say you cannot create or destroy it. They just think of it like, oh, so like if you tell them that, and then you go up to them and go, okay, what's your system running? And they go, what's AC? It's DC. And then as soon as you put it through another system, you say, are you sure it's still AC or DC? And they say, yeah. I go, it's not. You know what I mean? you realize it's not, right? Like, and you're trying to wait for them to say, oh, okay, well, I created a high voltage potential and I created a magnetics on the other side, and I'm getting a different value, right? No, they're still saying, oh, it's just still AC. It's still AC. And you're like, oh, this is going to be a bad day. Like, because you just played with the temperature and pressure in the whole entire system, right? You change the frequency, change the temperature of it. You change the geometry of it in order to put it in a magnetic field. And you also had to put it through filters in order to get it to a high voltage potential. So knowing all those things, is it still AC? Oh yeah, it's still AC. Dude, I gotta go. Like, this is like, I need a couple beers at this point because it's gonna take a while. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because,
right.
Yeah, we're not in the same at all. And
not at all. Especially the state machine, right? You've changed all the parameters of the states. The machine itself is different. It's not the before.
Well, any computer is the same way. They always talk about the heat in the system, right? But they don't understand that they're creating the heat in the system. So by creating some kind of impedance in the way. So if you just wrap wire in a certain way, you've created impedance. Or if you put a resistor in the wrong place that has the wrong size to it or the wrong chemicals in it, that you've changed the resistance in the system. Therefore, you're going to change the frequency. So when it comes out the end, you're just creating heat throughout the entire thing. So you're going to get a massive amount of heat in there, and you won't be able to cool the system properly. So in order to do that right, you have to check all your electrical numbers and see what they are. And then sometimes the capacitor in the complete wrong value is the complete right answer. Because now in there, the mass matched up with the wires and everything you put in there, which made it change that value, which now makes it move 10 times faster because you just
Yeah.
removed the big block of impedance.
Man, I was really interested in one of the last videos you post of you using the plasma inside the vacuum chamber, man, and that effect that you guys keep talking about, that like cold stuff that looks like underneath it or wet, those little things that are happening. I'm trying to wrap my mind around that. That's pretty cool, dude. Dude, that's insane. Is that cold like electricity or something? Cold, almost. It's insane.
You're talking about the RAV that we built? Is that the one in the vacuum
Yeah,
chamber?
well, yeah, but it has that it looks like something underneath it. It's just forming. It's pretty interesting.
Oh yeah. Well, we did that. How do I say? So Sean did the vacuum chamber experiment on it, right? And then I built the RAV out of my own parts here. You know what I mean? Junk parts sitting on the shelf. So and he's got the fancy machines, right? So I haven't pulled out the frequency changing machines yet in order to change it, right? But I have a feeling if I do, Sean's going to be really upset at me because, like, we were doing it with AC flybacks, right? And I kept telling him, I go, like, your Tesla coil in a bipolar fashion is the same, right? And he kept telling me, no, there's no way, right? So then I made a RAV out of my AC, out of my bipolar Tesla coil, right? And then I started controlling it with my cat bank. I would make this thing bigger or smaller, and then I created two of them with an anode and cathode, but used to use the loop on the bottom as my cathode and ran them both as anodes. So then what you would get is you know how we were talking about in your system, how the energy would go positive, negative, right? Well, that's what the RAV did. It went positive, negative, just like this.
Wow. Just naturally out of the way of the system being birthed, it just did it. No forcing, no changing frequencies, no environment changes.
It just had to do, just like everything else, it's put in resonance. So it bounces back and forth. That's what it does. It's one attenuate in the next, one attenuate in the next, at all times. So when you start talking about you're unpacking your formula, did the same thing, right? It starts moving between the positive and negative, positive and negative.
I didn't know why. And now you're telling me it's more of a frequency pairing.
Yes.
And when they're not paired, they have to do more work inside the feedback loop. So when they are paired, they stabilize.
If you could think of it as two, wow. If you could think of it as two different coils, okay, turning on and turning off, turning on, turning off, that's all it's doing. I'm building a transistor, but it's just out of resonance, okay? I'm turning on one, turning off the other, turning off one, turning off the other. But that's the way it goes all the way. It's a 1 0 1 0 1 0. I'm just turning on and off. I'm just using.
Is one trying to pull it into harmony, or is the disharmony part of the system?
The harmony is part of the system. It's fluctuating. It has to fluctuate.
The whole thing is one thing.
Because, well, remember how the coil's built that it came out of. It's just a coil built wound once, right? So where's the actual value to it? Well, it's on wherever it pushes it. So it'll suck it all up, like there's a vacuum into it, and then one will bust it all out. You know what I mean?
That's sick, man.
And then it vacuums in and then it busts it out, but it always does that. You know what I mean? So you could tell in any kind of thing like the earth or something like that, that there's a value system that works exactly the same. There's one negative side, there's one positive side, and they keep bouncing back and forth. So they say, oh, it's always the North Pole. Well, yeah, when you put the magnetic part of it on there and you check it, one side always comes out north, right? And one side always comes out south based on where your number one coil is. But then when you get into the energy value of it and how it actually works, it'll pulsate between the two. And then it'll self-correct itself in that pulsating. It's just a factor of energy that works. That's why I always say, is it smart energy? Does it have an intelligence? Or does it just know something we don't?
And that's the original frequency I spoke of. The Schumann is the two of them make the one frequency that they calculated, the 7 point whatever.
Yeah, because I was telling you earlier, phi is basically when you build it out, and we've all seen the symbol. It comes out and goes like this, goes up high, drops off, comes up high, drops off. Well, that's exactly how resonance works. So when you get into your coils, if you take a big cap bank, a large one, and put it on your coil, you just start flipping switches, and then it'll go maximum value, stop, drop, then go back up to a maximal arch, and then stop and drop, and then it always does the golden ratio all the way out in building the coil. So that's exactly what you're looking at. It has the exact same structure in phi in the system. It just builds it out all the way.
And from my experience, my compression at least, what I really learned was if you can somehow replace phase with phi, it's a system stabilizer. It makes the system very stable and predictable. So yeah, think about that too, adding phi and some of these frequencies for if you're looking for stability. It definitely helps.
Reminds me of fractal geometry. When you get into fractals, one side positive, one side negative, you know what I mean? It all balances itself out. It's always looking for some kind of a balance. It's an offset. So I say it's an offset. Let me re-say that. It's always looking for balance that it can never find and always creates an offset. So what those two RAVs are doing at the same time is they're always looking for balance, but can never find it because it creates an offset. It creates energy to one, then stops and goes back to the energy of the other. Meanwhile, it's the same exact system, and it runs 10 times smoother without the heat that you would normally get in a system with a spark that big. Because you got to remember, these things are about the size of a nickel. It's about the size that they're coming out, and when I'm building them, they're big, okay, like this. They're not the little like this. They're like this, okay? Yeah, no. When you build them in the Tesla coil and you up the frequency on them, it starts to create a bigger RAV. So, and then because you're dropping the caps in there, man, it's amplifying the amplitude of it. So when you're looking at your frequency across the screen, it's like this, right? And then I'm doing this to it, shoving it right off the screen. So this thing just goes, you know what I mean? So,
yeah.
But that's the compression I was looking for on my gravity flyer. That same compression we were talking about earlier, in order to find it without breaking it, that's what I was looking for. But this is what it's doing. You see why I built some of the systems the way I did. I'm looking for something, you know what I mean? And it's very specific.
Yeah, even that ball Tesla coil shows you that everything is being pressed in. You know, if you need to get that compression.
That's why we're talking about if you wanted to build an ender machine out of something like the RAV, all you need on the outside is basically a round, how do I say, a round transformer built like that round Tesla coil, okay, with the same frequency as the RAV itself. So now it automatically pulls it out. It's at the same resonance factor. It's got a factor of the mass energy on the inside pushing out to it already. It doesn't need a third factor to pull it out. It's already there. You know what I mean? It may have a third factor in it, don't get me wrong, but it's not something you have to build out separate from the system in order to convert something. It's automatically converted to energy in the way that you need it. So, sorry, that's just stuff that we deal with every day, man.
I love watching the show, man. I mean, I had an experience years ago where I saw a meditation bowl hover out of someone's hand temporarily. And that's when I got turned on to anti-gravity and found your show. It wasn't by coincidence, you know. I saw something happen, a phenomenon. It was like, all right, let's go on the internet and look up anti-gravity. Found you.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. It comes up me. It probably came up like 50 other people before me, though. That's all right.
Well, I got into the gravity phi flyer, and from there
There you go.
led me to you. Yeah.
I wish I took over a category
I was
like
at
that.
a music festival. I think something was happening with the frequencies from the sound, because you know how that low tone happening the whole time, the woo woo, and all of a sudden little this popped up for a few seconds. Everyone looked at it, and as soon as we looked at it, it came back down, and we're all like, "Did that thing just float?" Yeah, it's pretty nuts.
Did anybody get a picture of that or anything?
It happened. There's 9 people that we all talk to each other to this day, being like, "Bro, that floated," and they're like, "Yeah," but no one can explain why it happened. It was a meditation bowl. We don't know what happened or why, but we all saw it, and we all were just like, "All right, I know reality isn't what we're told."
Oh no, not at all. Like you see all those ancient stories, man, all have to do with frequency of music in order to get something to be anti-gravitational. It kind of
Yeah,
tells
now
you.
I believe it.
Yeah, there you go. We're looking in the wrong area. Yeah,
Right?
I
I'm
mean,
thinking that some of these pyramids or these rocks are all moved by some type of like, frequencies from instruments.
well, you do know that in some of the hieroglyphs, they have 2 tuning forks, and then there's a wire that goes in between them. Okay, in order to make the tuning
Mm.
forks stay on longer. But the effect of that is you get the musical instrument playing as it's resonating back and forth to each other. The wire across it turns out the sound of it.
I was watching your video on that recently.
Yeah,
Literally, just like last week.
yeah, it's
That's
cool,
sick.
man. How it all works out and works together. Sorry, my cat's up here running around on my desk, man, trying to get me. So
No big deal.
we took on a little cat was running around by my wife's sister's place, and brought him in the garage. And every time I go on the show or something, man, he bombs it for me, or he'll come up here and try to play, you know what I mean, or mess with some of the wires. It's driving me nuts these days. So.
I got a cat, but he sleeps all day.
Well, I got 5 in the house, man. So, you know what I mean? It's just that when they first come in, you can't put them in with the rest of the cats right away. You got to give them the shots, and you know what I mean? Or they're all through their flea baths and all that stuff. You know what I mean? Before they go in there. So
Yeah. And then introduce them slowly so they're not feeling territorial.
yeah.
Yeah.
So here we go. We got 7 trumpets. Yeah. Or how about what did they say it was? There was trumpets and everything, and then the blue ram's horn knocked down the walls of Jericho.
Right? I've heard that one before. I believe it. Or Tesla tuning the frequency and knocking down the building next door to him because he didn't like it.
Oh, with that earthquake machine with Tesla.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I wish I could tell everybody exactly how that thing worked, man, but I don't think everybody really understands what's going on there.
I don't. All I know is I heard he put some device against the wall next door and found the frequency and put it in his machine, and then the building next door went down.
Oh, he did more than that, man. He found the frequency of the metal. So he found the frequency of the steel, but that's not what makes it go that far, because it won't go the distance. It's the bottom part of the machine that he made that actually makes it work right. So he had in there the steam. So he had a steam hammer in there, and then it was a water hammer. So every time water comes in there, like if you had a pipe and you turned on the valve part way and not all the way open, it'll go right. Well, it does the same thing with steam. But what that does is it sends out a pulse wave. A pulse wave will carry the frequency that you're putting into it a further distance, because it works like pulling it out and boom, and it sets a ring here. Then it'll set one here. Then it'll set one here. Well, then before you know it, it goes out and sets all these things in there. And then you have that same frequency that attenuates in there every time it sets it. So then it continues to run and run and run. And then before you know it, man, you can get through all the metal in the whole entire building. But it'll take days to do it.
That's rad, though, man. That you can have that much of an understanding of frequencies to even be able to do that and understand a pulse wave to that degree. I mean, I know an equation for impulse, I wonder if I can use the same principles with that equation.
Yeah. Well, that'd be cool. Well, impulse is even better. I don't know if you've ever looked into this, but when it comes to impulse, it holds its energy so much better.
I've seen that in my mathematics. It really does a good job at predicting, but it's computed, like it takes a lot of computer power to compute everything with just the impulse equation. So for me, it wasn't useful, but I like to look more into it for other signals.
It was funny. I was on ChatGPT and I started talking about a field ball and field of energy, right, on a pulse, and it goes, "Oh, it's very weak, wouldn't do anything." As soon as I said impulse, it was completely the other direction. Oh, it's extremely powerful, all the physics, and he says that you need to use that. I'm like, oh, well, look at that, you know what I mean? Just change what it is, and just the structure on the inside, because you go, well, if you have a cylinder that's pulsing out, the inside's pulsing in, you know what I mean? And as long as you can figure that out, you'll be able to have it, you know what I mean? And pull an impulse on something.
Two directions, two bidirectional, you're saying?
Yeah, just by the direction, because one's compressed, one's uncompressed. So the outside,
that's why it pushes it out.
Yeah, pushes it out. It's a pulse. It's uncompressed. You push it in. It's an impulse because it's compressed. So now you've changed the strength of it because all your energy is directed in one spot. The other side, it's just going wherever. It's like like the demon core. It's not harmful until you compress it. You know what I mean?
That's you're talking about the physics experiment, right? Where it hold barely open. And
yes.
Man.
Yeah, if you put your screwdriver in there and hold it, what kind of generic method was that they used? Just put the screwdriver in there, man, and hold it open, right? Oh,
good luck.
And then it falls out, and somebody goes over there and kills 5 or 6 people because it put radiation through the whole room. Yeah. Look, I'm a great redneck, inventor over here, but even I know not to do that in that fashion.
Duct tape came loose.
Yeah. That's so awesome, man. Oh my God, this cat. All right, man. Well, it's been pretty cool, man. It's been 2 hours, man. Is there anything that you want to plug out there? Any website or anything else that you're doing?
No, just like I said, this is all for everybody. I feel like I'm more of an investor for all this information to be given. Now I want the world to just grab it, start playing with it, put it in their projects and their work and their school, see what it does for them. And if it validates, especially like the phase size of the stuff, use it as a filtering system, use it whatever you want for, right? But if that validates, then go ahead and start using the Metatron unit. And we really need to connect human knowledge underneath one umbrella. So we stop, not sharing discoveries that could be literally life-changing for the whole collective. Why? Put it out there. You put it into the unit. You start having a database that all information and human knowledge is at, and the patterns will emerge naturally and make our overall discoveries exponential. That's my goal.
Right on, man. Thank you for that. I love the fact that you said that. You know what I mean? Because that's why I did my channel, so that everybody can learn everything unfiltered and just make up your own mind.
Yeah. I do want to patent one thing, my compression, when I finish it. That's because I worked so hard on it. But the math and everything I discover on the process of trying to make my final compression, I'm giving all that away.
Right on, brother. Well, thank you very much for coming on, man. I really do appreciate it. I want to thank everybody in the chat, man, for hanging out with us today. It's been really awesome. Sorry I didn't put up a lot of the comments and stuff out there, man. I'm trying to stay involved in the conversation. So with that said, man, thank you very much, Richard, for coming in. I appreciate it, man.
Old man Bill's love and light, bro.
Right on, man.
The old man Bill. The old man Bill. The old man Bill. The old man builds. The old man builds is broken in the head. People not seeing reality has put him in the red. Where conscious and spirituality been stricken from the norm and replaced with the ignorance of basic magnetic form. The geometry of God keeps running through his head. That's what makes old man builds. broken in the head. The old man builds. The old man builds. Spheres of destiny are spinning in his mind, making him travel back and forth in time, battling the establishment for just a little recognition. Has him forcing the world to understand his premonition. That world will have all the technology in the end, even if it means his life will fail to extend. The old man builds. The old man builds. The old man builds. The old man builds. Fears of destiny are spinning in his mind, making him travel back and forth in time, battling the establishment for just a little recognition. Has him forcing the world to understand his premonition. That world will have all the technology in the end, even if it means his life will fail to extend. The old man builds. The old man builds. The old man builds. The old man builds. Fears of destiny are spinning in his mind, making him travel back and forth in time, battling the establishment for just a little recognition. Has him forcing the world to understand his premonition. That world will have all the technology in the end, even if it means his life will fail to extend. The old man builds.